part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
And welcome to another edition of the Red Guy and Rhoda podcast, powered by MGM Northfield Park. Northfield Park is your home for live and simulcast racing. Catch the excitement of live harness racing every Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday evening with a 6 p.m. post, free admission, free parking every day at Northfield Park. And a shout out here to our producer extraordinaire, Jordan Powell, who makes sure everything sounds good for all of you listening out there in the podcastosphere and on the Press Play Podcast Network. And how about this, Michael Red Guy? The Cleveland Browns did something they have not done since 2004 today, and that's win a season opener. They were 0-16-1 since Jeff Garcia led the Browns to a home victory over the then Baltimore Ravens. And today it's Jacoby Brissett, or should I say Cade Thunderfoot York, leading the Browns to a 26-24 opening day win at Carolina over Baker Mayfield and the Panthers.
Now, I'll go Thunderfoot York on that because, as we're going to discuss, I don't have a lot of positivity to give you about Jacoby Brissett. I'll tell you why as we get going. Yeah, but Kenny, all the way back to 2004 when Mr. Camilla DeCesar, was it not? Jeff Garcia? Yeah.
Her husband. Jeff Garcia.
Back 18 seasons ago as the Browns quarterback.
How about that?
Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
Playmate of the year and the last quarterback to win an opener for the Browns. So there you go. There's a match made in heaven right there. And they snapped the skid, though, today, Michael. And it looked like it was going to be a blowout early, up 14-0. But as is the OIC way, only in Cleveland, nothing is ever easy on opening day. And they actually allowed Baker to rally the Panthers back to take a lead late in the fourth quarter, 24-23, before Cade York bailed him out with his Thunderfoot.
Yeah, true. Now, the defenses we'll talk about, they had some strong moments, but you're right. Most of it came in the first 2.5 quarters. Mayfield started to exploit some things as he got him back in the football game. So that's something that we got to take a look at defensively. Cade York is, and I will, this is why when you feel, and it's still, it's still a bit of a gamble, Kenny, but when you feel you've got the guy, field goal kicker, if you feel he's the guy and you feel he's going to be a guy that can win your football game, then you know what? Yeah, you go ahead and take him in the fourth round. And which is exactly what the Browns did. And I got a feeling there's going to be more of these because, this kid has got, that right leg is, like from the heavens, right? From the field goal kicking gods. And but, there's some things. It's week one. There's some things they want to clean up, but I'll wait till I'll let you ask me about Mr. Jacoby Brissett. And when you do, I'll go into a little bit of an oratory on him. I'm not impressed. Let's put it that way.
Well, Reg, I was not a big fan of the signing either. Okay, I've never been a Jacoby Brissett fan. I know he's got a better than 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, and that's because he doesn't take many chances and doesn't make many big plays, right? But his starting record is not good, and we saw a little bit of all of that today from Jacoby Brissett, missing a wide open Amari Cooper, I think it was early in the game, a wide open David Njoku, a wide open Kareem Hunt on a wheel route down the left sideline that could have put this game out of reach.
And didn't throw the ball to a running free 10 yards in the secondary, what would have been a touchdown if he got the ball there, Donovan Peoples-Jones as well. Peoples-Jones, by the way, Kenny, bailed him out. Peoples-Jones, of his 6 receptions, 4 of them were for first downs, and almost every one of them, he was leaving his feet to make the catch. I thought he did a hell of a job today and played a very strong game at wide receiver.
I do too, and I'm not a fan of his. I still don't believe in him, but he's the second best receiver on this team, and so give him credit today. He made some big catches early in the game. He made a catch, I think, on that last drive
Yes.
as well to set up the field goal. So
Well,
I hope
leaving his
that's
feet, right, leaving his feet with
I
a
hope
throw
that's
below his knees.
some of the things that we're going to see more from him, though. He drops way too many passes for me, but today I give him credit. I think he caught 6 balls out of 11 targets. A couple of them were on him. A couple of the other ones were not on him. They were bad throws, but he made plays that helped them score points today, and they need him to do that because David Bell didn't catch a pass, the 3rd-round pick today, right? Anthony Schwartz caught his only pass today, which was surprising, but they used him on some running plays to try and work his speed in. So DPJ is going to have to emerge as that second receiver to Amari Cooper if they're going to have any passing attack this year.
Well, yeah, they're going to have to. They're going to have that. But this offense is, it's going to go as Nick Chubb and to a little bit lesser extent, love having Kareem Hunt as the number 2. I mean, look at Chubb today, Kenny, 22 for $141. Right. Again, breaking tackles, picking up, and love the way that Chubb is able to run from tackle to tackle, meaning on the inside and those RPOs and those inside zone reads. And Hunt got 46 more yards on the ground in 11 carries. So, again, but as we saw last year, there are going to be games where, because of the way the other defenses will play the Browns, that Nick Chubb looks like a mere mortal. Now, in these first 11, how much confidence you have in Jacoby Brissett that he's going to find a way? Let's say, real simple, the Browns going to have to win football games off his passing acumen. I don't feel real good about that because, again, and listen, I'm not trying to be too hard on the guy, okay? He's a career backup, right? That's what he is. And what do we know about guys who are career backups? You hope they go in. It means that, they're good enough, hopefully, that if you need them for a couple of games, that they can keep your offense viable, right, Kenny? But when you got to use them, if they got to play 8, 10, 11, 12 football games, their history says it's probably not going to turn out the way you want it. So we'll see. He got 1. Again, thank you, Cade York, but we'll see. I just question – I'm not sure how much Jacoby Brissett is going to be able to lead this football team to wins, Kenny, in fourth quarters of games.
I believe we saw a sampling of what the offense is going to have to be like, Michael, for them to win games until Deshaun Watson comes back, and that is 39 runs, 34 passes. And that should be the recipe. That should be what they do week in and week out, and that is run the ball more than you throw it because that's the strength of your team, your offensive line. I loved seeing both Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb in the backfield at the same time, numerous times today.
Yeah,
they averaged 5.6 yards per carry as a team.
I'm sorry, Kenny. I think it was 9 snaps. They were together on the field at the same time.
That's fine. That's 9 more than I saw last year. So that's a good start for me from Kevin Stefanski in that. And it's going to be a short, controlled passing game with a lot of dinks and dunks and slants and outs and, try and maybe throw off play action to get a big play every once in a while, Michael. But this is what they're going to have to do. Ball control offense, run it. Extend drives, keep the defense off the field, shorten the game, and try and win games. And today, actually, I had it 2017. And by the way, Reg, I was off by 1. And what I mean by that is
kudos to you, man.
I was off by 1 yard. I called a 57-yard game-winning Cade York field goal, and Thunderfoot actually hit it from 58 yards out today. So I apologize for being 1 yard off on that, but I didn't think it would be as high scoring as it was, 26-24. I had it 2017 with the game winner. So I think this is the ballpark that Browns fans better get used to seeing the score in, about 50 points or less a game combined with the teams that they're playing.
Yeah, well, and right now, another thing that's a little bit disturbing to me, Kenny, again, with the realization that it's week 1. But remember now, they've been together throughout a whole training camp. The 3 preseason games, right? I see zero, no compatibility with Amari Cooper yet from Jacoby Brissett. None. Looks like he's today. It looks like virtually just wasn't a part of it. And to me, come on now, we know Amari Cooper is a legitimate, strong NFL receiver. So how long is it going to take, Kevin Stefanski, to get your quarterback in sync and with a good continuity with this guy? Because you got to start giving him 7, 8, 10 targets a game. You have.
He had 6 today. They targeted him 6 times today. He caught 3 for 17 yards. 17 yards.
So again, there you go. See, it's all of that, that stuff. It's the throws that go horizontally, right? Bubble screen, quick out, what have you. You got to get Cooper an opportunity to, establish a route, a 15, 18, 22-yard route, Kenny, and look to get him the football. That's how this man has made his living with the Dallas Cowboys. I mean,
are you at all concerned that his better years are behind him?
I'm sorry?
Are you at all concerned that his better years are behind him?
No.
No? Okay. All right.
You got to get this man the football, period. And, again, that's incumbent upon, your head coach, your offensive coordinator, the offensive coaches, and your quarterback to do that. I don't have any problem at all. I mean, listen, and Cooper's a guy that, can make catches for you in traffic too, but you got to throw him the ball, man. And Kenny, as well as I do, I've already said it once. I mean, Nick Chubb is phenomenal. I love Nick Chubb, but Kenny, he's not going to get 141 yards every week. You know that, and I know that, because the way Brissett plays, you're going to have, I'm telling you, if I'm a defensive coordinator and defensive coaches and, playing the Browns, what do you think my game plan is going to be? I'm going to
stack the line of scrimmage. Yeah.
I'm making sure we negate Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. And okay, you know what? If Brissett beats us, I'll live with that. But I'm not going to let Chubb go get 150 on us. So, and I think you're going to start seeing that as we go along here. And my big question is, what is the Browns then? Where are the Browns going to go with Brissett on one of those nights when, Nick Chubb is only averaging 3 yards a carry and the run game is not being as productive as it was today? Now what? What do you got now?
Let's get into that after this first break here on the Red Guy and Rhoda podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network, brought to you by MGM Northfield Park, because you and I are in lockstep when it comes to Brissett. The first 4 games favorable for the Browns. Worst case scenario, they should be 2-2. We think they should at least be 3-1. We'll get into that. And then after those first 4 games, that's where it worries me about Jacoby Brissett. So Michael Regai, Kenny Rhoda with you here. We'll come back with more of the R&R podcast, talk Browns opening win and more right after this. Northfield Park, and Northfield Park is your home for live and simulcast racing. Catch the excitement of live harness racing every Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday evening with a 6 p.m. post time. Wager and win daily on top thoroughbred and harness tracks from around the world with action starting around noon. Plus, enter to play the free handicapping contest every Sunday for a chance to win some cold, hard cash. Top prize, $500. Registration begins at 11 a.m. Free admission and free parking every day at Northfield Park.
What's good, everybody? My name is Taylor Vanderbilt, and I'm the host of the 440 College Basketball Podcast here on the Press Play Podcast Network. On the 440, we talk about literally everything college basketball related. It could be women's, it could be men's, it could be recruiting, it could be the tournament. It does not matter. We cover it all. So check it out. Again, it's the 440 College Basketball Podcast here on the Press Play Podcast Network.
Looking for new insights on the Cleveland sports scene with a unique side of Cleveland sports history? Then you found the perfect podcast. I'm John Sable.
And I'm Scott Sable, and we're hosts of the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, a podcast about Cleveland sports, but not your typical podcast about the land's sports teams. Join us as we embark on a journey of sharing a unique and historical side of Cleveland sports history with the help of some former Cleveland sports stars and other historical figures.
All right here on the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
And welcome back to the R&R podcast, brought to you by MGM Northfield Park here on the Press Play Podcast Network. Red Guy, Rhoda, Red Guy, Browns win. Hi, Browns win. What do you know, Michael Red Guy? They get a win. It wasn't pretty, and there's a lot to clean up, a lot to get better at offensively, especially in the passing game. But I kind of expected that, to be honest with you, Michael, because like you, I'm not a big fan of Jacoby Brissett's. He didn't get to play in a real game with Amari Cooper the entire preseason. It looked like it today. It reminded me of Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham Jr. out there. They weren't on the same page. And so how does that get better? What do they have to do for those two to be in lockstep like we are on Brissett? What's got to happen there?
Number one, Kenny, you got to make it your main priority. It's got to be your main priority with the pass game, and it's got to start either tomorrow or Wednesday, Thursday of this week. I mean, you've got to do everything you can. And if Jacoby Brissett doesn't understand it, then, somebody in that offensive room's got to make him understand it, that listen, man, we have got to get number two, the football, in our passing game. And, again, or we're going to die trying, because, you just have to. This guy's been a strong playmaker with the Dallas Cowboys in his career. He hasn't lost anything.
See, I'm worried about him, though, Reg. I am.
Why?
I don't know. I'm not as they got rid of him for a 5th round pick. He's overpaid at $20 million. I don't think he's worth $20 million. Is he the best on this team? Yes. Is he one of the elite guys? I don't think he is.
No.
Well,
you know what? I just feel he is a very damn good, strong quality NFL receiver. You want to start nitpicking and saying, well, is he as good as Justin Jefferson or Cooper Kupp? No. But Kenny, to me, now, Amari Cooper is your number one, correct?
Yes, no question.
All right, so listen, 17 football games, all right? I got to make it real clear, Jacoby Brissett, we know you're playing 11 of them. You got to find a way to have 5 at least 5 minimum with him every football game. To me, Kenny, I thought Amari Cooper, again, he's not a burner. And I know you and I have said this during the offseason, but Kenny, in 17 games for me, I'm looking at catching 75 to 80 balls, okay, for 900 plus yards. And then when you're in the, the red zone, the green zone, whatever the hell you want to call it, throw him the football in the end zone. Let him use his physicality. That's what he's been good at, man. The dude's 215 pounds. He's 6 foot. But I see nothing right now. And again, I'm not, look, I'll say it one more time, just everybody. I don't expect Jacoby Brissett to come out and show up with the quarterbacking skills of Aaron Rodgers, okay? Nobody's expecting that. But damn, you're going to play 10, so you're probably going to start 10 more football games? Well, somebody's got to introduce you, Jacoby, to Amari Cooper, and you got to find a way to make him a priority and get him the ball.
I look back. He's averaged, 239 receptions over the last 3 years. So with your numbers, Reg,
that's 73 a year?
80 a year, basically. 80 catches a year over the last 3 years.
You said 239. So 80 a year. Won most of the years, isn't he at about 850, 900 yards plus?
Last 3 years for Amari Cooper in Dallas, 1,189 yards, 1,114 yards, 865 last year. 8 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns, 8 touchdowns. So 20, so 80 catches a year the last 3 years, 7 touchdowns a year the last 3 years in Dallas.
No, that's what I'm expecting here with the Cleveland Browns as your number one receiver. Right in that vicinity. That's exactly what it should be. 8 touchdowns. Get into that. Like I said, it's got to be 5-6 catches for 80 yards a game. You know, I mean, I don't see any reason why that shouldn't be a possibility. Now, can Jacoby Brissett execute that? Well, we're going to find out. But Kenny, like I said, if I'm Stefanski and all the offensive coaches, I'm making this my strongest priority starting tomorrow morning.
I don't disagree with that. It has to get better. You need it to get better if you're going to, after you get past Jets, Steelers, Falcons, and into the meat of your schedule, you're going to need it after game 4, especially, Reg. Not that you don't need it the next 3 games, but even more so after you get past the first 4 games and you start playing the playoff caliber teams. If you don't have a number 1 threat and Brissett and Cooper aren't on the same page, then you're going to have major problems dealing with the likes, even though the Bengals Christmas gift, to the Steelers today, they gift wrapped that sucker for me. They played terrible today. They're going to be better. The Ravens won today. They'll have a better defense than they did a year ago. You got the Chargers and all the other playoff teams that you'll be facing this year.
Well, exactly. So, and again, it's going to be incumbent upon, and look, as much as we love him, he's one of the top, I don't know, depending on what you think, top 2, 3, 4 running backs in the game. But again, you can almost count on it. There's going to be a few where Nick Chubb is, let's say, contained. How's that? Stopped. He's not going to run for 100 yards. Hell, he might not even run for 60 or 70. That's when I want to see what this offensive coaching staff comes up with Jacoby Brissett as your quarterback. And I'm not expecting him to suddenly turn into Aaron Rodgers. It's not what I'm saying. But you got to find a way. And Kenny, while I'm on it, he holds the football. He doesn't get the ball out on time. Yeah. You got to get the ball out on time. And then, when he does make a throw downfield, how many, to use the baseball term, fly ball pop-ups did he throw today? Man,
he got bailed out.
You keep throwing those against NFL secondaries, you're going to get picked a lot.
I will say this, though, Reg, in fairness to him, okay? Pass interference in the penalty. He was going to Cooper there. Cooper was wide open, and it wasn't a great throw. But he was being pressured, and he got it at least to the end zone. It doesn't count as a reception and yardage in passing, but it was a pass interference penalty in the end zone, which meant it put the ball at the 1-yard line, and that was a big 3rd down play right there. So it doesn't show up in the box score as a catch to Cooper. But, there were some that he kind of airmailed it, and that kind of hung up a little bit, and it was picked off, but that was after Cooper was interfered with in the end zone because he had beaten his man so badly.
It's just going to be an interesting watch here over the course of, unless it gets, God forbid, Kenneth, it gets so bad that, Stefanski says, I can't do this and goes to Joshua Dobbs. Now, God forbid, okay, because if that's going to be the case, then that's a huge loss then. Now that then is a huge loss for Andrew Berry, who went and signed him, right, to be the backup and a guy, as we said. Now, but again, I'm trying to be fair. What you want in your backup, Kenny, is if nobody anticipates, everybody, I believe that the philosophy on their backup quarterbacks, all right, can he keep us solvent if we need to play him 3-4 games, right?
Right.
And that's usually the philosophy that every NFL organization goes with. We want a backup that can at least keep us in games. We got to play them 2, 3, 4 games. Now, nobody expects to play their backup 11, which is where the Browns are with Jacoby Brissett.
All right, Reg, how about we focus on the defense a little bit? A tale of 2 halves. 17-7 at the half. Looks like they're going to run away with it, right? They get the ball to start the second half, come out, put another field goal on the board. They're up 20-7. And then all of a sudden it looked like the defense disappeared. Baker Mayfield able to exploit them for some big plays, and he scrambled for a touchdown as well. Miscommunication on the one pass play. I think it was Greg Newsome and John Johnson the third. Delpit had a pick in the first half, but he gave up a couple of plays in the second half. The pressure wasn't as good in the fourth quarter as it was in the first three quarters. What did you take away from the defense's performance today?
Yeah, I thought, I thought initially they came out of the chute and played much better in the first half than they did in the second half. Again, Myles Garrett, doing what Myles Garrett does: 2 sacks, 3 tackles for losses, a couple more quarterback hits. So, Garrett was putting on the pressure and doing his thing. Kenny, I'm going to watch, and I'll just take us back to last year on the show. This linebacking core, they're going to have to up their level of play. To me, they've got to at least, they got to be solid. They got to be decent. Again, nobody's asking them to all turn into all pros, but you got to be solid and be able to help out in the run game, and certainly be able to get in your pass drops and help the secondary out with that well. So to me, that's something that, we're going to have to keep an eye on as well.
The secondary is a concern of mine, just from the fact that if they don't put pressure on the quarterback, I think, they can be exposed a little bit. As well as the linebackers. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah and Walker, I believe, started today at the linebacker positions. And Owusu-Koramoah, you look in the stats, and he had 5 total tackles and 1 tackle for loss. But I need him to be impactful in this defense, Reg. Myles Garrett on the D-line. I need J.O.K. to be impactful there, and somebody in that secondary to be an impactful player if this team's going to do what they were talking about, being a top 5 defense in the league. I don't see it. Me personally, I don't see a top 5 defense, but that was the talk in training camp and coming into today. And for 2.5 to 3 quarters, they were looking like it, but you play 60 minutes in 4 quarters, and they almost coughed this one up, giving Baker Mayfield the opportunity to drive down and actually put Carolina in front late in the game. Luckily for the Browns defense, they were bailed out by a roughing the passer penalty on the Carolina Panthers, which moved the ball closer to midfield, which allowed them to get in Cade York range, and Thunderfoot nailed it from 58 yards out. So the defense has to pick their game up, especially if Jacoby Brissett is going to be the quarterback for these 11 games until Deshaun Watson returns, because if they don't, they will lose games because he does not make enough plays at quarterback.
Yeah. I don't see a top 5 defense, Kenny, but you know what? Can they be top 10, 12 even, which puts them in the top half, right? The top 50% of the league. Yeah. And they're going to have to do that. Yes. And the secondary play is obviously going to be extremely important as well. And you just hope that, that kind of pressure can remain on opposing quarterbacks, because to me, the secondary kind of runs hot and cold, Ken.
That's good. Yeah.
They're in and out. They have games where they do look like they're a top 10 defensive secondary in the National Football League, and then you have games where you stop and look and say, what did you guys prepare this week for this team you're playing? So to me, it's too much roller coaster up and down with that. So we'll see how all of that plays out. But 100% agreed. Defensively, I think on these games that Jacoby Brissett is going to be the quarterback. I think these performances defensively are going to have to be the more of strength than not for this team to win.
All right, Reg, we'll get our final break in here on the R&R podcast. We'll come back. We'll put the finishing touches on week number 1, a Browns victory for the first time since 2004, 26-24 over the Carolina Panthers. Thanks to, I'm going to beat this to death, Reg. Thunderfoot, Cade York's 58-yard field goal on the road, right down the middle, and he had 10 yards to spare on that, baby. We'll recap that. We'll take a look at what else happened in week 1 of the National Football League, specifically in the AFC North, and then take a quick peek ahead at next week's opponent, The New York Jets, Jets up next for the Browns, and we'll break it down for you right after this.
What's up, everyone? Chase Smith here, host of the Chase Smith Podcast, and my podcast reflects who I am. My hobbies, my interests, my passions, my curiosities, my careers, my questions, and my family. I'll spend time talking about all types of sports, movies, TV shows, trending news stories, and other cultural events, and even faith. This is who I am, and I hope I can get to know you as well. Join me on the Chase Smith Podcast, and let's have some thought-provoking conversations, only on the Press Play Podcast Network.
For the Dennis Maniloff Show, I'll tap into my 40-plus years of following Cleveland sports and 30-plus years of writing and talking about them, so as to bring you informed opinions and analysis of your favorite players and teams. I also will monitor the national sports scene, and when warranted, step out of the toy department and into the real world. And I'll always be on the lookout for special guests. By all means, join us.
Hey everyone, this is Mike Voorhees.
And I'm Brian Shaw. No, not the pitcher. We're the Guardians of the Land MLB podcast, formerly a Swingin' a Tribe.
Don't have time to watch 162 games of baseball? We do. We have you covered with recaps of the games, stats, and analysis throughout the MLB season.
Subscribe now to Guardians of the Land and Press Play Pods for all your Cleveland sports analysis.
We're rocking and rolling along with another Red Guy and Rhoda podcast here on the Press Play Podcast Network, brought to you by our outstanding producer, Jordan Powell, and also thanks to our title sponsor, MGM Northfield Park. They're riding with us for another year and should be a very fun year to ride along with the Cleveland Browns, and we're breaking it down for you after a Week 1 win, 26-24 at Carolina. Michael, we haven't talked about this much in the first two segments, but just give me a quick synopsis of Baker Mayfield. What did you think of Baker today for the Carolina Panthers going against his former team?
Well, yeah, kind of a lot of what we know Baker as. He had moments where, I thought made throws that, from the Carolina perspective were rather questionable. He's just, what's he been around that football team for a month? So it may take some time, but then, as we've seen in the best of Baker in the second half, he leads the 2 touchdown drives. And I don't know, it almost looked like his touchdown run was a straight up, flat out quarterback draw, just for him to exploit the Browns in the middle of their defense. And he did. So, Kenny, didn't we see a lot of that with the Browns? He'd have stretches where he didn't look so good. You maybe wanted him pulled from the game and benched as a Browns fan. And then he had moments, too, where he led drives and put his football team in the end zone to get him back in the game. So, quite honestly, I think on both ends, it's a lot of what we saw with Baker is in his 4 years as a Brown.
It was deja vu all over again, as Yogi Berra once said, right, Reg?
Yeah.
I mean, it was the first series, first pass, batted down, right? 3 and out, negative yards. I think he had 4, maybe 5 balls batted down at the line of scrimmage altogether, fumbled 3 or 4 snaps, threw a pick, missed a wide open receiver over the middle of the field, sailed that sucker by 10 yards, and Delpit got the INT. But yeah, then, his fiery personality, never quit. Give him credit. He rallied them back. He actually led them down the field to take the lead, only to watch the Browns come back and kick that game-winning field goal. So, yeah, you know what? I don't want to talk about Baker Mayfield anymore. This was it, right? Game number 1, he's not the Browns quarterback, and I'm glad we don't have to talk about him because I don't think they could go where they want to go, and that's to the Super Bowl with him at quarterback. So I had no problem with them getting rid of him. We'll see Deshaun Watson maybe in week 12 if he clears all the hurdles and follows all the guidelines, and much better quarterback than Baker Mayfield between the lines. Both are immature and have their issues off the field in different ways. But on the field, Deshaun Watson's the better quarterback, so that was an upgrade for the Browns there. Question is, when he comes back, can Jacoby Brissett keep this ship afloat enough to where those games will matter with Deshaun Watson in Week 12 at Houston, should he, again, be on target and return that day?
And, Kenny, I believe, every Sunday or Thursday each week for the next 10 weeks, that's what you and I will be talking about. Can Jacoby Brissett keep this thing afloat and at least keep them as a playoff team in these 11 weeks that, again, assuming unless something goes way bad and he's yanked from the starting quarterback role, which you want to see, that's all. In 11 weeks, you got to be where you're still considered a playoff team. And, that's the biggest thing that Brissett's got to be able to do.
All right, the Jets are next on the docket for the Cleveland Browns. They lost to Baltimore today, Reg, 24-9. When this schedule came out and I saw game 2, I don't care if it's Zach Wilson, if it's Joe Flacco, hell, even if it was Joe Willie Namath with that Jets team right now, there's no way they should lose this game in week number 2 against the Jets, Jets, even with, maybe a questionable Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. This is a must-win game and one that you put in the W column, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's your first home game, and it's certainly one you want to win. And now they've got themselves in a position where you can be 2-0 and off to that real strong beginning, because as you and I have talked about, after week 4, that schedule is really going to start to toughen up. So 3-1 would be terrific, Kenny. I mean, I guess I'm too much of a cynic, and when it comes to the NFL, that 4-0, I don't care who you're playing, is going to be tough. But if the Browns could be 3-1, 2-2 would not be terrible. Anything less than that now would mean that to be less than 2-2, that means you're going to be what? You're going to be 1-2 in the next 3? Well, that wouldn't be good. Yeah. That wouldn't be good.
Flacco threw it 59 times today for the Jets.
Oh, my.
59 times, the old man. He's going to need 4 days to recover just from throwing the ball that much for the aging one, right?
Right. And you got quarterbacks that, that you have team issues when you have to have your quarterbacks throwing the football more than 50 times. It's not ideal. We know that.
The Steelers shocked the Bengals 23-20 on the last play of overtime today. And this one was gift wrapped for Mike Tomlin's Pittsburgh Steelers. A pick 6 by jackpot Joey Burrow early to Minkah Fitzpatrick gave the Steelers an early lead. He threw 4 picks. You said he might have fumbled one as well, right, Reg?
One and lost. Well, yeah, that's what I mean. So there you have it. I mean, I'd say coming off their Super Bowl appearance, was there a quarterback that was given more acclaim and looked as one of the golden boys of Joe Burrow? And he's probably going to be that. But today, Kenny, if I would have said to you last night, hey, Burrow's going to turn it over 5 times and get picked 4 of them, fumble 1, and they're going to be an abstract disaster. Well, who would have said, no? Everybody said, no ways that happened. Well, see, there you go. I mean, so even someone as gifted, skilled, and, looking like he's one of the top 5-6 quarterbacks in the NFL, he stunk to join up today for the Cincinnati Bengals.
5 personal turnovers, and Evan Money McPherson last year was not money in week number 1, as he had an extra point block that would have won the game at the end of regulation. And then he missed a chip shot field goal early in overtime, and the Steelers, with Mitchell Trubisky from Menor High School, led them down and set up a 53-yard Chris Boswell field goal to put it through the uprights as time expired in overtime, and the Steelers get the early Christmas gift 23-20 over the Bengals. But as we were talking before we came on the air with our producer, Jordan Powell, TJ Watt. I want to make sure I get the Watt brothers right. TJ Watt leaving that game with what might be a pectoral injury, Reg. And if it's a severe one, that could be one that shelves him for the rest of the season. And if they lose last year's Defensive Player of the Year on that defense, they are a totally different team with an offense that struggled to move the ball today and will continue to do so with a very suspect offensive line.
Well, yeah, that could impact them in a very negative way. You're right about that. And I just think even though he couldn't get a contract resolved and an extension resolved, and I think he's taken a huge chance, but Lamar Jackson is certainly betting on himself, isn't he, Kenny? But right now, to me, I mean, the Ravens to me are the top team in the AFC North. And as long as Jackson is upright, I believe that they have the ability to be a 12-13 win team. And I certainly believe they're the favorite to win the division.
I had the Bengals as the favorite. They didn't look like it today, that's for sure, but we'll see how they respond next week. Burrow missed a lot of training camp with an appendectomy. It looked like he was rusty today. Could it be that dreaded Super Bowl loser hangover where I think, 70% of the teams that lose in the Super Bowl, Reg, don't make the playoffs the following year? So does that factor in today, and throughout the rest of the season as well?
That's an amazing number. And I think it is near 70% that don't even make the playoffs after being in the Super Bowl. So, I mean, so there's, but that's all going to be about, Joe Burrow. He's the guy that's, going to be the one to have them where they were, or at least playing for the opportunity to be where they were last year. But again, for me right now, not just after today, I felt this way. I believe Baltimore is a team to beat in the Browns division.
And the thing about TJ Watt, Reg, defensive player of the year, he picked up right where he left off. 6 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 2 passes defense, 1 interception. And he may be done for the year. So Mike Tomlin not saying much after the game, as you would expect from Mike Tomlin, but we'll see how that affects them moving forward. The offense, it struggled with the exception of like 2 drives the entire game, but they did move it down enough to get the game-winning field goal. So Steelers 1-0, Ravens 1-0, Browns 1-0, Bengals 0-1 to start the season in the AFC North as we head towards week number 2.
Right, and the Browns are going to see Joe Flacco next week as a starting quarterback, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
If he's able to survive 59 passes, I don't know if his body's able to handle that, but we'll see,
Yeah, well, again, I mean, look, simply, again, it's a team that the Browns should beat. And the Browns should beat. It's almost you want to say, all right, whatever dimension at football it takes, whether that's spurred by the defense, it's spurred by Cade York's dynamic leg, or maybe
Thunderfoot.
Or maybe the offense finds a way to get a little more. I'm just looking for a little bit more balance offensively. Get Amari Cooper the football, and if you're Jacoby Brissett, and so please somebody introduce Jacoby Brissett to Amari Cooper this week in Berea, and and you hope that. I would think the Browns' run game should be able to continue to do its thing, against that Jets front 7. So, I mean, Kenny, it's next week at this time, certainly there's a great opportunity for the Browns to be looking at 2-0.
Reg, real quick, some other scores, finals that are in from today. Well, the other day, the team I picked to win the Super Bowl, the Bills, crushed the Rams 31-10 in Los Angeles on Thursday night to start the season. The Dolphins getting a lot of pub before the season. They lived up to it at home, beating the Patriots 20-7. The Ravens, we mentioned, 24-9 winners over the Jets. How about the Colts and the Texans? A sister kisser. Final in overtime, 20-20. So week number 1, first tie of the season. I hate ties. Commanders beat the Jaguars 28-22. Bears 19-10 over the 49ers. Jimmy Garoppolo will be playing by week 4, in my opinion, in that case. The Eagles over the Lions. They win on the road in Detroit 38-35. The Saints rally, come back, beat the Falcons 27-26. And as we speak, while we're taping this, let's see here, the Chiefs leading the Cardinals 37-15, and that's in Arizona. The Vikings on top of the Packers 20-7. We'll see if they can hold on for that one. Mr. Herbert and the Chargers at home against the Raiders, leading in the fourth quarter 24-13, and the Titans with a lead on the Giants 20-13, with your Monday night affair being the Seattle Seahawks playing host to the Denver Broncos, led by Russell Wilson. So that's week 1 in the books, Reg.
Yeah, it is. Buffalo was extremely impressive the other night, and they've got a very, very strong football team. And, I think they're going to have to be dealt with by the entire league, but certainly the AFC Because, I mean, I could easily see them representing the AFC in the Super Bowl coming up in January, Kenny.
Bills, Chiefs in the AFC. Bills going to the Super Bowl. In the NFC, Reg, I think it is really a toss-up. The Rams won last year. I can't see them as back-to-back champs. So I'm not counting on the Rams. We'll see Green Bay with, the move they made in the offseason, getting rid of Devontae Adams. Their receiving core isn't real good. Rodgers is great. You and I were discussing this in the regular season, but he's had his trouble since he won a Super Bowl in the postseason. So I don't know if Green Bay is the favorite. Tampa Bay, Tommy and the Buccaneers. I don't know if they're the team to beat in the NFC. So I think it's really up for grabs, more so in the NFC than it is in the AFC, where I think it's either KC or Buffalo.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I'll give you a team, though. I think they won today, in a wild one in Motown. Keep an eye on the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC. I think they're a football team that's, got enough to certainly go deep into the playoffs. And then maybe it's them out of the NFC East that represents the conference in the Super Bowl. We'll see.
My only concern with them is, and I looked how many times he ran the ball today. Jalen Hurts can't run the ball 17 times a week and stay healthy and play quarterback in the NFL. That's my concern with the Eagles, and that's what he did today, 17 for 90 yards and a touchdown. But he did throw for 243, so that's good. But he can't keep it that many times and survive. But around him, they got a pretty good team, Reg. You're right.
Yeah, they do. So I'm kind of taking them as a team that nobody really talks about a lot. But I think if they can keep Hurts healthy and not get hurt, I think they can go deep and as I said, maybe represent the NFC.
All right, there it is. Week 1. Post-game, Regai and Rhoda podcast. Browns a winner 26-24 over the Panthers. Thunderfoot from 58 yards makes a winner out of the Browns for the first time since 2004 on opening day. Now, we're going to be breaking down each and every game every Sunday after the game or whenever the game is played, and we'll get it out to you as soon as possible so you can tune in and get our thoughts on the game with the Browns and whoever they play, and then also mixing in some other podcasts throughout the week as well on the Guardians, who just swept the Minnesota Twinkies, a 3-game sweep on the road. We'll talk some Cavaliers basketball coming up here in about 2 weeks. They'll be starting training camp. Should be a fun season there. So we've got you covered with the Browns, and we'll mix in some college football talk. And what a crazy weekend, Reg. Real quick before we get out of here, it wasn't college football, huh?
Yeah, and I love it. Another guy that I love when Jimbo Fisher has to, swallow his words and acts like he's actually got some humility, man. Oh, yeah, 2 great recruiting classes. They were 8-4 last year, Kenny. Right. You're 8-4, man. Don't try to tell me what an outstanding program you got, and you should be one of the top 5 teams that has a shot to play in the CFP this year. Bull, you know what? Let me see that first. I'll tell you right, they'll lose 3 or 4 games this year. They already got 1, right? They lost 1 already. There'll be 3 or 4 more coming. Watch and see. Jimbo Fisher's a fraud, man. He's a fraud as a head coach.
Georgia leapfrogs Alabama for the number 1 spot in the standings this week. Ohio State stays at number 3, Michigan at 4, Clemson at 5. It's Oklahoma at 6, USC 7, Oklahoma State 8, Kentucky in at number 9, Arkansas at 10. That's your top 10 early on in the season. We'll get into that.
Where's your favorite team, the Crying Irish?
Hold on, let me look here. They were 5, then they were 9. They're not 10. They're not 20. Oh, here they are, out of the top 25. The Crying Irish, as they lose to the thundering herd of Marshall. We are Marshall.
Marshall's a good football program. We know that, but you shouldn't be going into under the Golden Dome and beating Notre Dame. Now, that having been said, I really like Marcus Freeman, Kenny. I've got to know him calling games, and because I like the guy so much, young coach getting an opportunity, you want to be successful, but he's coached 3 football games at Notre Dame, and he's 0-3.
Yes, he is.
He's 0-3. So, and you know how they do it there. Maybe they won a bad year, but I'll tell you what, he better start winning some football games. How about I just say that? Or Marcus is going to have a short stay under the Golden Dome.
And I'll call his replacement right now for you. Urban Meyer will be the next head coach at Notre Dame if this does not go well soon. There you go.
Okay. Well,
I'm calling it right now. That to me, that's like Urban. He's back in the press box right now this year, or in the pregame show. He'll do that for a year. If this blows up in their face, Notre Dame, they'll pay off Marcus Freeman and let him go, and Urban Meyer comes in and takes over the Crying Irish program.
Interesting concept. Yeah, he was younger days. He was an assistant coach at Notre Dame, and so yeah. Well, I'll always just, have Herbie. Yeah, great college coach. But Kenny, I will always laugh and can't help but laugh that his time in the NFL at Jacksonville, I don't know if there's been more of an abstract failure than that and him in the National Football League. You'd have to show it to me. Not only from Luton,
that's fair.
but from hated by his players and team. Hated.
Yeah. No question. Let's see if Marcus can last longer at Notre Dame than Urban did at Jacksonville. And we'll talk about it throughout the year. Hey, Reg, always great to catch up with you, bud. We'll do this again midweek, or if not, we'll talk next week after the Browns-Jets game. And thanks to everybody out there for listening here on the Press Play Podcast Network. We appreciate it here on the Red Guy and Rhoda Podcast.